How you guys doing? It is Thursday, April 28th, 2022 AD. Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. And it's 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time here in Los Angeles. Are they going to have daylight time be forever? Then we'll always be the time. We will always be Mountain Standard Time for those in Arizona. Very cool. Going to have a fun Thursday show for you. We'll take your calls. I do have some, what I consider pretty interesting things to cover. Hope you enjoy them. Russia's prisoners. There's a black female WNBA player who had some pot, allegedly, and so she faces 10 years in jail. Oh, man. In Russia, because she was playing in Russia because she needs more money because there's not a lot of people watching the WNBA, right? So she doesn't get that much money. It's anti-woman discrimination. It's the pay gap. Give me a break. Nobody likes that stuff. I have a couple of clips to talk about. Annoying Jen Psaki. She's so annoying, it's entertaining. Or am I wrong? I might be wrong. Biden is maybe black on the inside because to me, he's very entertaining to watch and listen to. He's such a joke. You know how black's kind of like a joke when they try to be all serious? All preachy. Well, that's sleazy Joe Biden. Very sleazy, though. Very sleazy. And I'm going to attempt to talk about the water crisis. Does it sound wrong when I say water crisis? That's why I say water crisis. But then water sounds weird, too. Over here in California and the Southwest, because I heard that in Arizona, Nevada, they're having water problems, too. Is it the Democrats' fault? Or is it climate change? Give me a break. I say it's water mismanagement. And some of you may know more than I, so I will be looking at your chat, or hopefully. All that and your calls. But anyway, guys, let's get right on with the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how are you guys doing? I am fine. Not least because I have my I Love Boomers t-shirt. And I do love boomers. If I love anyone, I love boomers. And we should all love boomers, even though, why is that t-shirt so not morally straight, Hake? Asks Blark. Maybe because is it sort of 70s colors? And we all know that the 70s were not morally straight. Sorry, 70s babies. I was born in 81. We are super straight here. Anyway, yeah, I love boomers. It's a t-shirt available, and it's also available in stickers and tote bags. Shout out Chris out of Arizona. She was carrying a tote bag that said, I love boomers from the Hake Report Teespring store. And love boomers logic. No. You're not supposed to love boomer logic. Nor boomer tech. I mean, but they did help make advances, I guess. She was carrying a tote bag. She called in with this story one time. Chris from Arizona. And she was at the mall or something, and there was this young man, this kid, teenager, youth, who was wearing an OK Boomer. You know how OK Boomer became a meme? And it's a meme pushed by both the liberals, who hate the boomers for being not off the deep end liberal enough, even though they are pretty off the deep end liberal. And then it's also pushed by, you know, the whites and the sensible Zoomers and millennials and others who think that boomers are just off the deep end liberal and just dumb and helped bring about a lot of destruction in America from their youth and to this day. And it's a fact. And so both sides hate boomers.
To this day.
It's fact. It's true. Thank you. Boomers enslaved the blacks. I wish. No, I'm kidding. So, but I say we should love the boomers. Yeah. And there's some sensible boomers out there. Jesse Lee, Donald Trump, and that's it. Anyway, thehakereport.com. You can go to the Teespring store there. There's a thing, it's in the menu. Teespring.com/stores/The Hake Report. Boomers are either based or betas. No gray area. I know, there's like 2 base boomers, ever. I will get to your super chats, guys. I want to cover some different things going on. I'm going to probably start with the Russia prisoners, but let me get to a call or two first here, guys. Some people I haven't heard from in a while. Actually, one I haven't heard from ever. At least not on my show, I guess. Dia, first-time caller, I guess, out of Sydney, Australia. Dia, how are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I hear you properly. Although you're not doing good. Are you doing good in the world?
No, I'm not a morally excellent being. Only Jesus was.
Oh, okay. Anyway, nice to hear from you. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Actually, I watched you recently on Hunter Avallone's debate, and I found that really interesting, at least the portion that I saw.
Oh, cool. Did you watch it on Modern Day Debates channel or on Hunter Avallone's channel?
Hunter Avallone. I used to follow him because I liked what he was about at the start, but then he became an atheist, and so now I only watch him to keep track of where his mind is at.
Oh, interesting. So you liked him back when he was a conservative or something?
Yes.
A couple of years ago, or whenever that was. Nice. So you're still subscribed to him, and so you saw that he was debating me. That's why all of the super chats, I guess, were in favor of Hake, because all of Hunter's fans were watching Hunter on Hunter's channel, I guess, because he was streaming at the same time, maybe. I guess. I think
that's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because he was so into studies, and it's funny that even though you weren't citing any, and he's so obsessed with trying to come off as academic as possible, and he's actually really improved. He used to be less good at debates, and he's gotten a lot better. The more you do them, the better you get.
Yeah.
And I think he was feeling a little cocky, because it's you couldn't name. So you were operating on logic and an object morality. He was operating on studies, and he doesn't say that the studies he's referring to about homosexuality. It's just lesbian mothers. There's no evidence of what homosexual fathers raising a child and what that does. And he didn't say that, and I'm assuming he knows that. It's lesbian mothers and a heterosexual couple raising a kid. It's the same thing.
Oh, I never heard him say that before. He was talking about, you've heard him talk about homosexual mothers and...
That's what he said. I heard him saying that to you.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember him talking about the LGBT agenda.
What did he? What? You guys. That's the portion that I recall.
Oh wow! I debated him. He may have mentioned that. I tuned him out. We were talking about
There were tangents.
Yeah, maybe he was. You know what? Maybe you were listening to him review the debate or something, because I don't remember him mentioning that. We were talking about, is systemic racism real? Systemic
my
racism.
apologies. You know what? You're right. I mixed it up with something else. But he still kept citing studies, and you were like, yeah, you can say whatever you want. And because I saw you there, but you were like, yeah, you can keep saying that. You can keep citing studies. You kept saying you said that at one point. Yeah, the studies. Okay, whatever. But I'm saying, you're operating on logic.
Right.
How did you find him? Did you find him to be a little arrogant?
Yeah, I thinking back on it, yes. He but that wasn't front of mind. That was just because I wasn't really thinking about him. I was thinking about addressing the points that he was making, or they weren't really points that he was making.
But he kept interrupting you, just like I did then. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit. He did keep on saying about, oh, you're being very female-minded. You're citing your feelings and stuff like that.
But he was the one that was getting triggered, and so he was the one he was female-minded.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that he really had a solid grasp, although I did appreciate that he would say that because it helps get the word out that there is such a thing as female-minded, even though he was using it mockingly. He was misusing it, but he was being an example of it. I liked talking with him. I don't know if he must have been pretty bad if he's much improved, because what he did...
He has improved. He really has.
He didn't really explain how... I mean, he did say, poverty... Without saying poverty causes crime, he said that poverty causes crime. I'm like, no, it doesn't, man. He said that you reduce poverty, you reduce crime. And there may be some truth to that.
You said there was no causation or correlation is what you responded.
Right. I said correlation is not causation. But
that's right. See, I was watching it, see?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you checking it out. Yeah, he was, they just cherry pick these different things that happened in history and pretend that that's the cause of black suffering. But everybody knows that your own life and the way you live, the choices, if you will, that you make are much more a cause of your own suffering than the circumstances.
Candace Owens and Larry Elder and Tom Sowell, they all say that that's like father absences in the home is part of the reason why that happens.
But he even blames he even blames the single mothers on racism. In other words, they're not responsible for their own lives.
Well, yeah, that's dumb. Everyone is responsible for themselves.
Yeah. Granted, that the government does try to bribe people, and a lot of people fall to the bribe. And so you can say, oh, you know what, the government's been loosey-goosey with the LGBT thing, but you still have to blame the people who get corrupted. You have to blame both. Because you'll never improve by only blaming the government. You have to blame the people themselves. And the people themselves that's much more powerful when the people change than when the government changes.
Black people, yeah, well, you're right, because black people performed better, like, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s.
Right.
And then
they had their families together. They were not as criminal. Yeah. They may have been more criminal back then, but they're much more criminal today.
Yeah, absolutely. I know this from Australia, so Hunter should have known that too.
Cool. Thanks for checking that out, Dia. And you're a Hispanic over there.
I am. I'm Latina. I speak fluent Spanish. My mother's Colombian. My dad is from Spain.
Your dad is from Spain?
Uh-huh.
And so they met over there and married over there, or how did you get over there?
No. So my father met my auntie, and then he's like, oh, do you have any sisters? And then they became pen pals. And then, yes, I'm the product of the second child, and then, my brother was born. My mother came over to Australia because my dad and her, he's like, hey, I want to meet you. And
wow.
Then, okay. It's a bit of an unusual story.
Yeah. Well, and thanks for calling, Dia. It's nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Another person I haven't heard from in a long time. I heard from Dia because she interviewed Jesse Lee Peterson, by the way, on her channel. And she's called into JLP before. Robert in Pasadena, California. Robert, how are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm okay, Hake. How are you doing?
Doing well. Man, it's been a little while.
It's been so much has happened.
Cool.
It's been pretty crazy. Like, a lot good and a lot bad. But I think I'm, stronger as a person now.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Possibly.
What do you think is happening, Hank? Do you think, is Biden gonna stay in? Is the country gonna collapse? What's gonna happen?
I can't predict the future. I don't really predict the country collapsing any more than, it's been collapsing, morally we've been collapsing, but I don't know about Biden staying in. I think he'll stay in as long as he can hang on. I I'm not one to really try to predict what's about to happen, other than stuff that's kind of obvious. And even then, you don't really know what's going to happen. Unpredictable things happen all the time. I didn't predict that, who's this guy, Elon Musk, would try to buy Twitter. Not that I know what's going to happen as a result of it, but...
No.
And I didn't predict that Trump would come on the scene. Not that as much happened as some people hoped would happen. But anyway, yeah.
Do you think there's I'm asking you, I don't know if this is also asking you to comment on the future, but
No, go for it.
I kind of go back, are we able to salvage America? Because I just look at the borders are just open. People are just coming in, and here in California, I can't carry a gun loaded in my car with me.
Right.
In Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, New Mexico, you can do that. And it's but California, where California is, all the other states are going to be when they go blue. And it's I just see kind of a dark future. Obviously, I can't predict the future, but I hope that we can if Trump stayed in, I think it would have been a lot more likely that we could. But I hope we can salvage America because, I still really love this country, even though it's been so, perverted and corrupted, in so many ways. Since even before I was born, it was being corrupted. And I just kind of have this, feel in my heart that I want to salvage America, but I just don't know if we're going to be able to do it.
I say that it's not up to you or me to say whether it's salvageable or not. And it's really not up to us to do it. It's up to us to do what's right and not have doubt in what we're doing or think that, because that's like a results-based thinking, and God's in charge of the results, in a sense, he is.
Yeah.
But it's our job to live right, to repent ourselves, rather than worry about the bigger world. Because if we're not paying attention to ourselves, we're overly concerned about the direction of the country. We'll ignore obvious stuff that in ourselves that we need to address and that we're missing. And meanwhile, the friends around you and the family around you is going to be in darkness too, because you're in darkness and you're not bringing light into the world,
That's very true. And I have, there are things that I know I'm doing that are wrong. And I don't have a complete belief in God, and I'm trying to have faith, and I'm, working on it. I'm trying. It's hard for someone that doesn't believe in God to come back, but I'm trying to have faith, and I see God working on me.
So are you saying that you don't believe in God, but you kind of do and you want to? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I haven't believed in God since I was young, before I think 10 or so.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make a serious effort to reprogram my brain so that I don't have whenever I think of God, it's oh, that's not real. That's the immediate that jumps into my head.
Yeah.
So it's I'm just trying to reprogram my brain. So it's I'm trying to be consistent with my beliefs of being rational and having evidence and things that we can prove. I'm also trying to balance that with there's things we can't prove, there's things we can't know, and I can't think about things forever. And believing in God is about not necessarily having those things, but having faith in it. I'm just trying.
Proving you want to be able to prove to who? To yourself or to other people?
To myself. I don't think you can prove things to other people.
Yeah,
They're
that's
gonna,
true.
think what they think. I've tried it, and it doesn't work for me.
But
But
it sounds like you're trying to reprogram your brain yourself, and you don't know the way to reprogram your brain.
That's true.
Like, I think the Bible does say, don't be conformed to the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. But it doesn't mean that you yourself are renewing your mind. It means that, like, God is renewing it, if you will. Because you're going to know stuff without knowing how you know. Like, you know stuff without being able to prove it to yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You may get caught up in a thing like, is any of this real? Like, it's kind of one of those useless types of questions, which are kind of useless, not pertinent to your real life.
Yeah, you're right.
You doing JLP's silent prayer?
Yeah, I do this. I do the silent prayer every day, throughout my day.
Nice, man.
And it helps me. It's something, the silent prayer along with, not, like, my mother said to me, you have a tendency to overthink things.
Uh-huh.
And
you're white, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm 100% white.
Were you raised by both parents or just your mother or what?
I was raised by both parents, but my father his mother died when he was a freshman in high school. She beat the hell out of him all the time. And he was a weak man who he was on his second marriage. He's on his third marriage now.
So you were a child of the second marriage?
I didn't have a strong father in my life.
You were a child of the second marriage?
Yes.
Oh,
I was a child of the second marriage where they got married in the late 90s and they divorced in 2012.
Oh, okay, wow.
And I lived with my mother after that. And then my dad got remarried and he sold the house I grew up in on Arroyo Seco.
Nice.
In Pasadena.
Beautiful.
Yeah, bro. I wouldn't want to grow up anywhere else.
I know.
It was.
I almost grew up in that area.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, my dad was looking at houses in that area before he settled on the house over closer to El Monte where I grew up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
Did you know that the first American, white American settler to California, to this area, he came to San Francisco from Indiana, and then he came to El Monte.
Wow.
Before he came to Los Angeles.
Nice.
And, Cesar Chavez Street?
Yeah.
It used to be called Macy. After him. His name was Obadiah Macy.
Obadiah, what a name. That's cool.
It was named after him, and in the 20s, they tried to change it to something else, and people said, no, because this is named after one of our pioneers, don't change it.
Right.
And in the 90s, they're like, let's name it after this Latino civil rights hero from Arizona. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay.
What a disgrace, huh? Cesar Chavez. And even Cesar Chavez today, compared to the so-called civil rights people back then, compared to the so-called civil rights people today, the social justice people today, Cesar Chavez was kind of based
compared to them.
Yeah, he didn't like what he called wetbacks. He didn't like the illegal aliens because he was for even though he was Mexican or whatever, he was for the unionizing, and he wanted the unionizing to be to the benefit of the union workers, not to the illegals coming in. Anyway, Macy. How do you spell Macy? Out of curiosity, M-A-C-Y.
M-A-C-Y.
Okay.
He owned a hotel, and he was a doctor, and the hotel was one of the first places that had shade, and people would hang out in front of it and wait for the stagecoach from San Pedro.
Okay.
Because it would get them news from the East. And he was just his son was also his son was born here, and he was big in the community. He was the first American besides military people that came out here.
So back to you. Are you able to make it to the men's forums? Because we might have one this coming week. Would be the first Thursday, I think, unless there's something that I don't know about. Well, nice, man. You ever done counseling with JLP? If you want private counseling,
I've thought about it. Perhaps it's in the cards. Right now I don't have the ability.
Okay. Well, no worries, man. Yeah, don't get too much into your head about, Because I think last time you called, or one of the recent times that you called my show, you were concerned about dealing with your friends who were kind of psycho but making good points or something like that.
My friends were, I said that, I would defend the American Indian, like our conflict with the American Indians, like all day long.
Yeah.
I said, like, we weren't in the wrong for coming here. We weren't in the wrong for defending what was ours.
I remember that
what we
now
built
a little bit more.
And expanding. And, Andrew Jackson, this is like the worst. This is like Hitler of America. People. Like Andrew Jackson, if you read his State of the Union address, he said the Indians are going to be discriminated against in Alabama and Mississippi. They're not welcome there. And they have conflict with the white Americans in Alabama and Mississippi. So if they go west past the Mississippi River into new lands, they can continue their culture separate from us, and maybe one day they can be civilized and be a good, interesting Christian community. Like, that's not genocide. That's not a explicit, like, this is thing, like Thomas Jefferson said, if the American Indian way of life is to survive, they can't survive within a state.
Yeah.
We want them to be, Americanized. But the point, I'm like totally going off topic. The point is I said that, it's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And he said there is something wrong with that. And I kind of like shut down, like I didn't know what to say.
Okay.
And he kind of wouldn't let me talk. Like he would I'd say like a couple things and he'd go off.
Yeah.
And the point is that, like, it doesn't mean that I got really bothered by that because of my ego.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't, on point all the time about, what was. It doesn't mean I was wrong about, us coming to America. It doesn't mean he was wrong that the Indians were mistreated. I don't think that we were totally Christian and nice to the Indians at all points of American history.
Yeah, there was very fine people there was good and bad on both sides, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There were wonderful times of unity, and there were horrible wrongs done on both sides. And American whites came out on top.
What's done is done.
It's over.
Yeah.
And now you can't use that today to say like. And the whole thing started because I was trying to say like, in an ideal society, like when the American founders came over here, libertarianism makes more sense because everyone's armed, everyone's free, protecting themselves. Like in that ideal sense, it could make sense. And he had no patience for that. He didn't want to consider that for a second. He just said, "Well, no, because then people go out and kill the Indians." So it just like got sidetracked, and I kind of followed that. I'm going off on this. Like you should stop me from talking.
No,
but
it's interesting, man. Well, to me anyway.
It was a mess.
Well, I understand. Yeah, don't get sucked into like an ego intellectual battle because people are going to believe what they believe. It's nice for some to know history, and it is good, but it's tough to know the truth of what went down because there's so much propaganda and lies. You see how the media reports things today. They don't report the truth, and that untruth that they report becomes history if the propagandists continue to be allowed to push their propaganda as though it's true when it's not. Like they did about Charlottesville or January 6th or Trump or so many other things. White supremacy and things like that. It is.
Yes, sir.
But don't be dismayed or consternated at the evil and the lies, because that's what they want to happen to you. They want to drive you nuts. They want you to be a crazy, angry white man.
No, I won't. I'll be a Christ-loving, happy, jolly white man.
How about
warrior.
church? Can you make it to church? Or what's going on?
I've been going to my local church, which I was baptized at.
Okay.
I'm 10% Serbian, and I grew up Orthodox.
Yeah.
So I've been going there just because, like, I don't know, it's like a cozy, like, I like the Orthodox
I understand that.
ritual, but also I'm certainly, if the Lord is willing and the creek don't rise, I will be there for the men's forum. and
Nice,
I'll
man.
be there for church.
I don't want to push you to do something you don't want to do, but if you want to, you should. And if that Orthodox thing is working for you, that's fine. Or if Bond is working for you, that's great too.
I love both.
Nice.
Bond does something for me that no other church can do.
Yeah.
And the St. Stephen's Serbian Orthodox Cathedral in Alhambra that my family built way back when.
Wow.
That does something for me. And it's like my dad goes to this Protestant Hillsong church where they play like rock music.
Oh gosh.
You know
yeah.
the kind. It's in like a strip
Liberal.
mall. And it's like, that does something else. But I want to. It's been a while since I've been to Bond, so I want to. I was working at Fox Studio by Pico, and I would drive by, and it's like, oh, I need to get back there. I remember.
Well, do what you want, Robert. It's great to hear from you, and do call again sometime.
I will. See you soon, Hake. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Before I get to more of the callers, you can call in, guys. I have to cover this story. It's kind of funny to me. This Russia prisoners mess. The far-left female-run outlet The Skim, and I mentioned this in Hake News, says Russia and the U.S. are swapping prisoners. Yesterday, the Kremlin, which I guess that's their version of Washington, D.C., except it's more fortified. The Kremlin and Red Square, I think is the name of it. And the U.S. met up in Turkey to exchange this guy named Trevor Reed, whom I know nothing about whom I know nothing, a former U.S. Marine, for a Russian pilot. And I mentioned that he was in part of a conspiracy to bring in like $100 million worth of cocaine, smuggle into the United States, this pilot guy, into the U.S., serving time in the U.S. In 2020, Reed received a 9-year prison sentence. So since 2019, he's been in, jail for endangering Russian police officers. Wow, okay. All right. Konstantin Yurashenko was serving a 20-year sentence for smuggling. The move comes as relations between the U.S. and Russia are almost as strained as it was during the Cold War. But some of us are not so into this mess, right? It's bringing up questions about other U.S. prisoners in Russia. And I have the picture of this woman, Brittney Griner, the WNBA star. I use star in quotes because if you're in the WNBA, are you really a star? Sorry, guys, but has been detained in Russia since February, 2 months later, right? 2.5 months later, or whatever, when she was arrested on drug charges. Drug charges? A black woman? She looks pretty light-skinned there. You can even see her tattoos. Real blacks, you can't see their tattoos. Brittney Griner, Brittney. At least she has an American name. Griner isn't just any WNBA player. She's the best offensive player in the history of the league. And the WNBA, how much is their history? I feel like I was a teenager when they started, or maybe older than a teenager when they started. Cringy. But anyway. But surprise, say the female at the Skim, female players get paid a fraction of their male counterparts. That's because they don't bring in money. Come on, please. So for years, Griner's been playing in Russia during the off-season to supplement her income. Russian officials accuse her of carrying vape cartridges with a cannabis product. Wow, don't do that, Brittney Griner. Charges carrying up to an up to 10-year sentence. Because somebody's like, wow, 10 years for pot. There's worry the Kremlin is using her detention as leverage amid its invasion and the West's sanctions. She's being detained until at least May 19th. Could be held longer. State Department says her case remains a top priority. And Sleepy Joe Biden says he won't stop until other Americans are at home, including Paul Whelan, who is a former Marine as well. Paul Whelan. Americans are breathing a sigh of relief with the release of Reed. I don't know about this Reed guy. Trevor Reed. 2 other U.S. citizens, at least, being held in Russian prisons. Silly, huh? We're we, not me, we're all worried about Russia and Ukraine and crimes against humanity. But meanwhile, we have the border crisis. The border crisis. Hake is my favorite boomer, says Jib Jab. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I am a boomer of sorts. I have this clip 11 from Jen Psaki. Psaki. Title 42. That's Trump's based health authority. She said Title 42 is a health authority, not an immigration plan. She's being questioned by people, right? I have a Fox News clip on this. But just to briefly explain, as you probably all know, Title 42 was Trump's protection for us from the illegal alien disease. For years, maybe decades, Jesse Lee Peterson has been sounding the alarm about the illegal alien disease. People come up here unchecked, in many cases undetected, or they are let in, and some of them are supposedly health screened, but many of them not. And they're given hey, appear in court for your asylum hearing, because some of them pretend to want to be refugees. So they cross illegally, present themselves to authorities and say, I want to be a refugee. But you don't have to live as a refugee. Go home. Hat tip, Tom Petty, rest in peace. Go home, because you're not a real refugee. Go fix home. These people from Central and South America and Mexico who, I mean, their places are a mess, but it's their own. Anyway. But Jen Psaki says something that in this Real Clear Politics headline I agree with. Title 42 is a health authority, not an immigration plan. It was helping. But we should have it in place, not just, Title 42 was put in place for the China virus, not really the illegal alien disease, the China virus. But there are also illegal alien diseases, and we need to turn them around ASAP in general. We need to close the borders. We all know this. So in that sense, she is right. But then she's going to turn around and say, oh, we really have good policies in place to really secure the border. And I heard that Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of the so-called Homeland Security, I think that's who he is, Alejandro Mayorkas. I heard that he lied and said, oh, the border is secure. It's secure. And we're going to make it more secure. If you're going to make it more secure, then it's not secure. Duh. Anyway, here is Jen Psaki rattling off facts at the mouth like an annoying schoolgirl. You know those schoolgirls? You guys remember growing up in school with girls in the class, all annoying and rattling off facts with no comprehension and lying? This is her. Listen to this.
Mayorkas is getting a real grilling on Capitol Hill today, particularly about Title 42 and the plans that are in place to deal with it. DHS has acknowledged that a surge would put a substantial strain on resources. Now, obviously, DHS announced this 6.20-page plan. But given that strain that DHS is anticipating, why should the American people have confidence that you'll be able to deal with that surge of migrants if Title 42 is lifted?
Well, first I would say, just as a reminder, it is a health authority, not an immigration plan or an immigration authority, and it's not meant to be a replacement of. So the determination about where we stand and to lift it was made by the CDC. Just to note, the 6-point plan that Secretary Mayorkas put out and talked about today or over the last 24 hours includes 6 pillars: surging resources, including personnel, transportation, medical support, enhancing CBP processing efficiency and moving deliberate speed to mitigate potential overcrowding, administering consequences for unlawful entry, bolstering the capacity of non-governmental organizations to receive non-citizens, targeting and disrupting the transnational criminal organization and smugglers, and deterring irregular migration. So what he talked about today is exactly what his preparedness plan that's been in the works and in the planning for months would do, and they've talked about the need potentially for more resources to make that happen.
And just to be very clear, and some Democrats have said this, will the plan be in place before Title 42 is lifted?
That is exactly what the preparedness and implementation plan is intended to do.
What a psycho woman. Just listening to her voice, I will remind you that is not a health is a health authority, not a dumb teacher's pet type of woman. And she's a holdover from Obama, so you know she's lying. And so is that Alejandro Mayorkas guy, who's not a Christian, I think. I mean, can anybody be a Christian and serve in the Sleepy Biden administration? Even Sleepy Joe Biden is no Christian. He pretends to be a Catholic. I'm going to cover Sleepy Joe Biden. Oh, don't worry. And he's probably more entertaining than this annoying, obnoxious toned woman. But anyway, she like starts to read and rattle off stuff and says, oh, see, we are going to secure the border. Why a mask still on? Oh, brother. Oh, yeah, I know. These women reporters, they can't really hold the people in power accountable. Can they? Well, some of them have more nerve than the male reporters. It's ridiculous, though. Lady Seasow says, annoying schoolgirl, LOL, me back in the day. And then covering her eyes. That's funny. She looks so pale, says Blark Blark. Hey, watch your mouth. A couple of super chats before I get to the callers, guys. Hang tight. I got to read this from Lin Yan Chin, who says, Lord Goodhair, you know my IQ is low. I don't know that, Lin Yan Chin. And I don't have any filters because I am black, because Lin Yan Chin is black. But I hope this isn't rude. Do you suffer from aphantasia? Aphantasia? Aphantasia. Or aphantasia. Noun in medicine. The inability to form mental images of objects that are not present. Question mark. Not that I'm aware of, Lin Yan Chin. I'm pretty good at picturing things, I think. Or imagining things. I think, what makes you ask? I'm still considering, by the way, if Luca can confirm that I should do this, that I should have cucumbers, more cucumbers. But thank you, Lin Yan Chin. Star Jordanos, shout out Star Jordanos, gave a super chat and states, hopefully there will be someone like DeSantis and Trump who stands for this country, representing the Republican Party. The blacks hurt the most because illegals land in the black neighborhoods, taking over their communities and their jobs. Yeah, I think that's partly why that, and plus the legal immigration, so-called legal immigration, no thanks to the 1965 Hart-Sellers Immigration Act, pushed by one of the Kennedy, Robert Kennedy? Didn't he lie and say, oh, it's not going to change the demographics of the country? And I heard that it was pushed by non-Christians, this so-called law, 1965 Immigration Act. Anti-Christians specifically. Long history of anti-Christians messing with our country. So bad. And who are also anti-white, by the way. Luca says, yes, eat those cucumbers. Okay. All right. I like them. They have water. Blazing Hog says, you had cucumbers with your lunch. That's cool. Or he pressed 1 if you did. What was I talking about? Can you picture giving Lin Yan Chin 3/5 of a keyboard? Asmodor says he saw the word somewhere and wanted people to hear him use it, is why he asked. What's up, guys? Asmodor. Brandon M., nice to see you guys. My resident historians over there on Odyssey, odyssee.com/@thehake report. They bring facts, but then my favorite caller, Maze from Dayton, Ohio, will say, well, listen to the facts that they rattle off. Pertinent facts, too, not facts meant to deceive that liberals use. Liberals use facts to deceive and distract. They'll say, we don't need a wall. most illegal immigrants are visa overstays. Therefore, we don't need a wall. That's called deceiving with facts, if you're a sucker enough to be deceived with that. But thank you, Star Jordanos. Yeah, that'd be nice. About having a sensible person representing the Republican Party. I think we need more sensible people from the bottom up. But that's kind. Thank you very much. I feel like I missed another super chat. I feel like there was another super chat, but maybe it was Lin Yan Chin's that I missed yesterday. Thank you, single mom, by the way. Appreciate it. And shout out to the people supporting on subscribestar.com/The Hake Report. You can type that into your URL web browser thing. Subscribestar.com/The Hake Report. I put up exclusive content on there. And if you're one of the people who supports all the time, you can contact me, and if you say you can't afford the $3 a month or $5 a month or $10 a month to support Hake on Subscribestar, but you do already give super chats, I will gladly share the exclusive content with you. Nice. Anyway, let me get to Bobby in Texas. Got to keep things moving. Bobby, how are you doing, man?
I'm fine, man. How are you doing?
Fine as well. Thank you. Thanks for holding.
No problem. So I wanted to comment on your modern day debate this past week. I noticed you were getting pretty handy with the old ban button, so I took some days away.
You took some days away concerned that I may ban you?
No, I'm pretty sure I'm safe. I was just joking.
Yeah, I did ban a caller just this week, though. So anyway.
And Andrew, I mean, it was like back to back.
I banned two?
Andrew, right? Well, you told him not to call for a month.
Oh, yeah. Alexander. Yeah, I told Alexander not to call for a month.
Yeah.
That wasn't really...
He took it pretty hard.
Oh, did he? He did say, okay, I'll unsubscribe from your channel then, Hake. I didn't say to do that. I just said take a month off.
Yeah, he took it hard. He didn't appreciate the idea of praying instead of calling.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
But on your modern day debate, man, just my impression of old Hunter, I feel like he saw your debate with his wife and was just looking for like any, just to try and be like, I don't know what the word would be, not necessarily nasty, but just like not aggressive either, just like I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? Like he was just kind of like angry about like your debate with him and just kind of bringing that anger into the debate.
It did seem disproportionate, the amount that he used the term accusing me of being female-minded, which is the term that I use against liberals, because I said it once, and apparently maybe he did see my debate with his wife, Carissa Avallone, about the war on men. Or I don't know, maybe seen any. I don't know, because he said any of his stuff. But. Me neither. But he said it so much, and I'm like, is this coming from something else, or is this coming from what I've said here? Because it seemed like it was coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, and he seemed really beta, and not even just the female-minded remark, just like constantly like looking for like little like gotcha type stuff, and just like trying to like, score these points. And then like I thought it was pretty funny when he had to have his wife come in and kind of try and bail him out of the hole he was in, because he was just getting nothing but the questions at the end. People were just like, oh yeah, she did give a super chat. She gave a super chat. That was cool. She's, I think that she herself has helped out the Modern Day Debate YouTube channel, like perhaps even like guest hosting. I don't know that for sure, but she seems to have a... Like she was far more like, she was nicer, just like, she was just like more debatable. Like I found like your after show debate with Kaz was so much more productive and so much more... to it. Like there was a lot more there, a lot more substance to the debate than like just watching Hunter be, getting, crying over every little thing. It was
Right.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that other guy was very, receptive to your comments and not just because he's black, taking it all offensively.
Right. Yeah, I thought that both Kaz, who is, I think, part black and part white, and then his friend Tony in the after show, Factitionalist Network. I went 2 hours with those guys right after finishing up with Hunter. Within 15 minutes, we started on there, and I really enjoyed it. It was much more manly, friendly.
Yeah, I agree.
Discussing things.
On that.
It was cool. I think that the Hunter debate might have been cool in that you can see somebody like me dealing with somebody like him who's being a little bit obstinate, really.
Yeah, 100%. That's 100%. He was just like completely, really beta in that whole exchange and not willing to, he wasn't really there for a debate. He was like trying just to like score these petty points.
Yeah. Yep.
But off on another subject, you were just talking about Jen Psaki.
Yeah, Jen Psaki, the press secretary for Sleepy Joe.
And I'm curious, like, how you, like, where you rate, like, I don't have a huge, like, pool of people that I really can even reference, but, like, of my favorite press secretaries of, like, my life, like, it's hard, as much as, like, I hate to give, the credit to a woman in power like that, but I felt like Kayleigh McEnany was, like, pretty good.
Okay.
Like, I thought she was good at the job, and I think she had a very difficult job compared to what somebody like Jen Psaki has.
Yeah, the media is definitely nicer to Biden and more friendly to Biden.
Yeah.
Rather than Trump. So, I didn't really watch. I don't really watch press secretaries. And then especially, I know that Trump likes to hire women, but I don't really like seeing women being the press secretaries. I prefer
I don't know. I almost
men.
think it's a good move just because it kind of, they get it easier. Like if you put a guy in, I think they don't go as soft. Like they'll be a lot harder if you were to put a man there.
But I say bring it on because a man can deal with it and he will be more direct. And
but I get why somebody like Trump would take that angle.
I do.
Like I think it's especially when he's taking the pressure and the hits that he's taking. I think it's wise to soften that blow with a attractive female.
Right. He cherishes women.
I was curious what your opinion of it was, like if you were kind of in the same camp or if you had somebody that you'd seen in the past that you, like I said, I don't have a huge.
Yeah,
I remember
neither.
Clinton had that guy that went to CNN. He did that debate, got kind of a strange like name.
Oh no, I'm not familiar. If you said the name, I might remember, but yeah, I wasn't even paying attention back when Clinton was president. And honestly, I can't think of a press secretary whom I have liked.
No.
Because I was only really paying attention from Obama on. I wasn't paying attention during George W. Bush.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you who his was. I knew Clinton's just because he got a lot of positive press in in the just media and like television entertainment. Like he got a lot.
Was it
Papadopoulos or something like that?
Oh, okay.
Papadopoulos, is that right?
Well, there is George Papadopoulos. There's Dee Myers, who's a woman who was Clinton's press secretary, I guess. But
I think it was Papadopoulos was the one that got all the positive press and media and entertainment and was talked about in sitcoms and stuff.
Oh, there is a George Papadopoulos, but he wasn't. Was he a press secretary? He was under Trump. He's a young guy. That wouldn't be the same guy.
Yeah, maybe it's not the same guy. I forget his name. I'll have to Google it.
Stephanopoulos.
There it is. Stephanopoulos. Yeah, that guy.
What was he? George Stephanopoulos, former White House communications director. Yeah, that's true. George Stephanopoulos. Oh, man, he's a piece of work. Out of ABC News now. He was a Greek. Shame to the Greeks are hopefully ashamed of him. That's right.
I hope so.
He wasn't
But
press secretary, but
I don't know if
communications.
you remember, but he got a lot of positive just press and media and entertainment coverage throughout his time in there.
Huh. He comes off as kind of a nice guy, I guess.
Yeah. And that was really before, like, anything before Obama was a lot, like, softer. Like, they weren't asking him tough questions like people get today. Like, there was no polarization, really, of the two sides.
Right.
You know, most
it's gotten worse.
Conservatives didn't like Democrats didn't like conservatives, but there was still a level of, you know, common ground. But now it's so polarized that there's really no area for middle ground between the two parties anymore.
Yeah. True. Well, thank you, Bobby.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good to hear from you. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Man. Quick super chat from Lin Yen Chin. Yes, Lin Yen Chin. He says, I typed manly. The reason why he asks about aphantasia is he typed manly, but the machine misread the N as a space. You weren't able to visualize the missing N via context of sentence structure. That's the cause of my last super chat. Hunter's wife leads her well. It's a nice lesbian relationship. And let me see where he typed that. Molly. Okay, Hunter was fixated on slanderous misrepresentation of your notion. Lin Yan Chen told me this yesterday in a super chat. Female-minded, using it as a metaphoric baton to bash you into submission, but she failed. He's calling Hunter a she. Hunter doesn't deserve her moderately pretty wife. Hunter's wife. Hunter doesn't deserve his wife, who is more manly than her. And I said, Molly. It must have been the pressure, Lin Yan Chin. It totally makes sense that it would be manly. Yeah, and I don't know why it's has a space there. Well, thank you, Lin Yan Chin. Appreciate the. Maybe I do have that issue at times, especially under pressure. Terrible. The Odyssey chat is roasting Bobby. But I'll spare, since they're not super chats, I'll spare the reading of them, I guess. Man, though. Okay, so in the next hour, I want to cover Sleepy Joe Biden being silly. I will get to Keith in Illinois coming up right after this. He wants to talk about immigration out of control. Thank you, Keith, for hanging in there. Hang in there another 5 minutes or so, because it's time for some music. It is Frog Eyes time, guys. I know you love Frog Eyes or don't. This is from the 2003 album, The Golden River. And this track is entitled, it's track 10. This is the last track of this album. That last track I'm playing anyway. Picture framing the gigantic men who fought on steamboats. Picture framing the gigantic men who fought on steamboats by Frog Eyes, guys. Frog Eyes. Hope you enjoy it. It's kind of a nice song. It's, closing song of this album. But you guys, I guess you can press mute, you musical Philistines. It's 3 minutes and 43 seconds long. So enjoy, and I'll be right back for hour 2. Hang tight.
Work for cost.
Isn't this great? Yes, it is great. I say. Such a cool vibe. Hake is such a nerd with the pointing at the lyrics. Pretentious title. I kind of agree. Keep sailing on until the rosy pink dawn. Nice. Right on. Shout out to Victoria, Canada. A lot of talent out of Victoria, Canada. Wish they would use some of that talent to fix the country, but this singer gets drunk off margarita mix. The finger pointing your idol worship is a bit much, Hake, says Den TGN. That's your mind, man. Good song to watch lemmings jump off a cliff to. Lyrics are kind of based. Thank you, Canadian David. FreeTerribleCDs.com. Hake, do you hate us? He sounds like he needs to forgive his mom. I'd rather watch a woman give birth than listen to the Hake's music. Everyone hit mute except for a boy with no face. Oh my gosh, he cannot sing. Hake, I will super chat $100 for you not to play this. Too late. Save your money. Make it 200. Save your money up to 200, and then pay me in as a reward once I clipped my nails. I cut my nails, by the way. Lady Jane Lindia says, "Hey, go clip your nails, please." I did recently. Yeah, but save your money, and after this grows on you, you'll see the wisdom of frog eyes. What does Hake type into Google to find these noises? The album was banned by the Hague for war crimes and torture. The Hague or the Hague? I don't know how to pronounce that word. Anyway, as promised, I do have to get to Keith in Illinois. He has been on the line forever. Keith in Illinois, how are you doing?
All right. Hey, how are you and the crew, man?
Doing well. Thank you. Appreciate it. We got some AC on in here, so much better than before.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about that. I'm in Illinois. It's about 60 degrees.
Wow, nice. You know, it's probably 60 degrees outdoors, too, but inside we have, like, 4 computers in here, these lights above, a TV on, a screen on there, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens there, and 6, 7, 8 here, and it's a mess. And plus my hot air probably doing the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had to, I said I was going to denounce my citizenship because I found out the illegal, I was wondering how they were surviving. They get $3,000 a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. They claim that, illegals take less welfare than us, or immigrants take less welfare than the Americans. I don't buy that. Mm-hmm. No. And you know what? They're probably using the illegal aliens' anchor babies as so-called Americans. So it's very deceptive. That's another fact with which they're deceiving people.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, how can you survive? How can you come to a country with no money? You know what I'm saying? No place to stay. You just come in here and just like walk out on the streets. Now it makes sense to me. They get $3,000 a month. So I'm gonna, just like I say, give up my citizenship, sneak back in, and get $3,000. And I advise everybody else to do the same thing because this is ridiculous. And I feel like we should do like North and South Korea. We should have a DMZ zone where people believe in all that and homosexual and all the LGBT and all the crime and all the Democrats and all the thing that goes along with that, no education, poverty. We should have a zone. They stay on that side with their president. We stay on the outside with our president, and nobody can cross. Nobody can sneak back over, and we should go for a DMZ zone. We're not united anyway.
Yeah.
We ain't no United States. We ain't been united. We ain't never been united. So it should be, I like the DMZ zone. That's just me talking because I'm so sick that these Democrats get to do this to this country, and I mean, this pillage this country, and some Republicans too, pillage this country to where we owe $30 trillion, the bill's still adding up, and we're giving everything away to Ukraine and illegals, and Americans are here starving, not educated, violent, poverty, crime, dealing with mental illness, alcoholism, and they just give everything away that our forefathers worked for. So, okay, I'm giving my citizenship, y'all. I'm sneaking back in. That's all I had to say.
Yeah. You know, I saw a great report on the anchor babies by, and it was inspired in part from the Center for Immigration Studies, CIS. Let's see, CIS.org, is it? CIS.org, Center for Immigration Studies. They must have done a little report update on the anchor babies and the numbers. And a guy, I saw it on TKR Official on Telegram. That's Asmodor's Telegram channel. He shared it. It was a video, like a 10-minute video by the great American Renaissance founder, Jared Taylor, talking about the anchor babies, the way that they get the welfare, the way that the mothers, the education level of the mothers, and all of the crimes and all kinds of stuff. And it was shocking. And other countries don't put up with this, including European countries. Like some people did. They retroactively said, "Oh, you're not a citizen of this country anymore, even though you were so-called born here, and we let you be called an anchor baby and be called a so-called citizen of this country." They revoked their citizenship, the citizenship of their anchor babies, which is something I would love for us to do, because it's such a mess in this country right now, where we don't have our country.
No, we don't. And then we have these politics that play on all these fake emotions. Like Jesse said, they don't care about Americans.
Right.
How would they care about Ukraine? They don't even make any sense how people can solve that. And these liberals that get brainwashed into this, like just giving up your country, giving up your...
Are you on speakerphone right now, Keith?
No. Is it okay now?
Yeah, stay close to your receiver so you come through clearly and loud.
Okay, so they convince these liberals that that you should give up all your freedoms and give up all your stuff and give up things that you work for to people that don't care nothing about you, that don't deserve it. When them same people, if they ever get any power, they're going to enslave you. They're going to oppress you. I just wonder what is wrong with these people, man. I just how does your brain get convinced that you should suffer because somebody convinced you should suffer? That is amazing to me if you really think about it. I just don't get it. And I appreciate you letting me talk. I just had to get out the mind, so I'm denouncing my citizenship, everybody. I'll sneak back in and get paid, and you guys can keep working for me. Thanks a lot, Hake.
Well, thank you, Keith. Appreciate the call. Take care, man.
All right, bud. You too.
All right. He is right. The illegals are treated better than the Americans. If you want proof, look at the Americans who stick their neck out for this country. It's insane. Look at the Americans who stick their neck out for this country, like the January 6th people, the Charlottesville people, the Donald Trump, anybody who has been loosely associated with Donald Trump. Look at the whites who don't sufficiently hate whites. They actually come up with websites, and those websites get banned. They get banned from every social media platform. They get labeled as terrorists. They get labeled as sicking troll armies against people. They get sicked with frivolous lawsuits against them for stuff that other people did. And then they get bench warrants against them and all kinds of evil things. But illegals, criminals, Black Lives Matter, false martyrs. Wasn't the name martyr named after Fox's Book of Martyrs? Wasn't it named after a person named Martyr? What a shame. People use BLM suckers as people who've gotten themselves killed as martyrs. The BLM people. But they're dead, so they don't really reap the benefits of this false praise, honestly. The families do. The families get paid. Trayvon Martin's mother. So illegals and criminals and evil people and thugs get propped up not real Americans, not heroes like the beautiful Confederate heroes. Quick super chat from Brandon M. I don't know how quick this is. Brandon M gave me a super chat, and it's a link to a Yahoo News article shared from BuzzFeed, which did a puff piece on Obama back when Obama was president. Did they ever do a puff piece for Trump? Doubt it. Black people are sharing the rules that they follow that most white people don't even know about, and this is so important. And it says, there are so many submissions from our black readers, and they capitalize the B in the word black because they're kiss-ups, that we decided to do a whole post specifically on the black community. 21 unwritten rules that black people follow every day. One, from an anonymous supposed black, probably a woman. No matter how angry you get, you try and remain calm. If you raise your voice even a little, regardless of what you say or how you say it, you are instantly labeled an angry black woman and are judged wrongly even when you're right. Okay. Nobody's overly nice like the whites. You know, by and large, right? My mother taught me to always ask for a bag and receipt, no matter how small the purchase, or you can be accused of stealing. You know, because there are a lot of angry black women, and because there are a lot of black thieves. As a black man, my father taught me when being pulled over by police to pull out your insurance and registration out of the glove box and keep it ready on your seat. That way you do not have to reach in the glove box when the police are at your window. Because a lot of, you know, blacks are 13% of the population, but 40% of cop killers are black. Did you know that? They're overrepresented by 3 times their share of the population among cop killers. Compared, and that's across a decade span of a recent decade. As a black woman in a predominantly white area, these are their unwritten rules. Oh, it's tough being black in America, LeBron James said. It's tough. As a black woman in a predominantly white area, I make a point of approaching staff first in stores when I walk in. I ask an innocuous question in a friendly, high-pitched voice, even if I don't need anything. They seem to feel safer around me and do not follow me around when I do that first. The good suffer with the bad, right? A lot of black shoplifters. You've seen all these shoplifting videos? Most of them black. No one does that. I know nobody follows these people around in stores. And if they did, who cares? You know how hard it is when you're like need help finding something and you can't find somebody to ask? That's good. Obama said that too. Oh, we've all been followed around in stores. Yeah, the author has never done that. Yeah, I know. That's an anonymous person. As a black woman, I usually keep my college jacket in the car. If I have to go to the emergency room, I'll receive better treatment if doctors see that I have a higher education. This is all in their imaginations too, by the way. I'm from Louisiana, where they still have sundown towns. We need to bring those back. Avoid them at all costs, but if you have to pass through at night, make sure you have a full tank of gas so you don't have to stop, says some guy. Big Scooby 04. And it goes on and on and on. Thank you, Brandon M. Maybe I'll report on more of these. Good advice, says Chris. Yeah. Sundown towns are basically that it's a curfew for the blacks. Blacks, you can't be out after sundown. We don't trust what you may be up to. We've had problems here. This is a no and blipka enga zone. We've had problems here. Oh, the stream went out? The stream looks okay for me. It says Ragnar. I'm looking at the Odyssey. It's back for me, says Nordic Frost. Because somebody in the chat said, oh, Hake, your Odyssey went down. Well, we're working on getting things straight. I have an intern helping me out big time with all this stuff. So, bear with me. Nice. By the way, thanks for following up, Linya and Shin, on the clarifying your super chat. Oh, apparently it did go down because I already see an MP3 for it. Yeah, Odyssey is kind of shoddy. But thank you, Brandon M. And speaking of black, as in entertaining, I have another entertaining black man to show. And I use the term man loosely. And I use the term black loosely. Black on the inside. This is clip 12. Couple of minutes long. You remember that not Christian person, Madeleine Albright. Madeleine Albright? She's not a Christian, even though she was supposedly raised as a Catholic. She's dead. Rest in peace, I guess. I don't want to say the other thing that I heard Ralph say one time recently about somebody else. But her funeral happened. And so I have a Sleepy Joe clip, a couple of minutes long. And Sleepy Joe is, to me, he's entertaining. Even though, especially for how phony he is. Maybe how the phoniness of him makes it entertaining. Here he is giving part of his eulogy, the opening of his eulogy for Madeleine Albright, saying she turned the tide of history. Madeleine Albright was the first, well, you'll hear it, the first so-called female, so-called Secretary of State under Bill Clinton, who was a mistake. He should not have been elected, I don't think. But Bush, the daddy, was a one-term president. Because because he said, read my lips, no new taxes. And then he raised taxes. Sucker. Here's Sleepy Joe pretending to honor the dead. Listen to this mess.
Freedom endures against all odds.
He's reading.
In the face of every aggressor. Because there are always those who will fight for that freedom.
Yes, like
in
her.
the 20th and 21st century, freedom had no greater champion than Madeleine Albright. Anne, Alice, Katie, your mom was a force of nature. With her goodness and grace, her humanity, and her intellect, she turned the tide of history. David, Daniel, Jack, Jake, Ben, and Ellie, you're too young to remember this, but when the Iron Curtain fell and the Berlin Wall came down, our world faced one of those inflection points. Once in a generation moment of upheaval, but opportunity as well. People and nations around the world were deciding the future they wanted to make for themselves.
Democracy.
Your grandmother, as Madam Ambassador, and as the first female Secretary of State in American history, made sure those nations and those people knew exactly where the United States of America stood.
Oh, yeah.
And what we stood for. You know, and all through
Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton,
beloved sister Kathy,
Barack and Big
my
Mama.
brother John can attest. She never forgot where she came from or who she was.
We're all wearing masks, too.
President Obama,
Chelsea Clinton.
President Secretary Clinton.
I don't see Trump,
Vice
though.
President Al Gore. Members of Congress.
Oh, that is Al
Cabinet
Gore.
members,
Oh, my gosh.
past and present. Today, we honor a truly proud American.
Yeah, right.
Who made all of us prouder to be Americans.
What a lie. What a lie. You know, this is why Jesse Lee's, not to get too off topic, but this is why Jesse Lee's biblical question is difficult for me. Because I'm like, Western culture. Maybe the Muslims are right. We're pushing degeneracy. And somebody said she loves dead babies because she was okay with her decision to bomb some country, I forget, Bosnia or something like that. And it killed a bunch of civilians, and it was necessary for the greater peace or something like that. By the way, this is the most popular president ever, says Dan East. Yeah, true. Those Iraqi children loved their freedom. Freedom from living, right? Because they got killed. President Secretary Clinton. No, he's saying President and Secretary Clinton, as in President Bill Clinton and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, because she was so-called Secretary of State under Obama. I almost called him Sleepy Obama. You know, phony, at a funeral. I'd rather a drunken punch-up at a wedding than this phony funeral talk. But he was kind of entertaining to me. He was talking black preachery, or, you know, just... To me, it's so funny when Sleepy Joe tries to be, like, passionate or something. He's barely there. But to his credit, I did not see our greatest president ever, at least in my lifetime, that I'm aware of. Reagan may have been pretty good. I don't know. Some say he was not. Donald J. Trump, he was not there. Nice. So that's Phony Joe on that. And here's a little bit more disturbing stuff from Phony Joe before I move on from this entertaining talk. Sleepy Joe Biden talking about the teachers. By the way, I covered Madeleine Albright a couple of weeks ago after watching Warren Baylog. I'm blanking on that guy's name. Listening to him a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. But I covered her a couple of times. She's a mess. Not a Christian. But she didn't even know that she was a non-Christian. Because her family fled the Holocaust and didn't tell her. But anyway. Biden to the teachers. They aren't somebody else's children. They're yours when you're in the classroom. This is from Real Clear Politics. I got these 3 clips from Real Clear Politics. And actually, this was shared on Twitter by American Principles Project, because they're concerned about education. Joe Biden says to teachers about their students, Teachers of the Year, he's honoring them at the White House, I guess. And it's so creepy the way that, and I don't like to buy into the creepy Joe, he touches children, stuff like that. But he does spiritually molest them. Spiritually. And he and his ilk, for sure. It's disgusting. Here are the Teachers of the Year being honored by the dishonorable Sleepy Joe Biden. Clip 13, I think, hopefully.
Have our students gain confidence enough to know what they can do.
Oh, yeah.
To reach in.
Look at this guy.
We have
Look
an
at his face.
obligation. We have an obligation to help them teach and reach their potential. And you've heard me say it many times about our children, but it's true.
Yeah.
They're all our children.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the reason you're the Teachers of the Year is because you recognize that. They're not somebody else's children. They're like yours when they're in the classroom.
Crazy. What a mess. And he's talking about you're supposed to give them confidence. Teachers don't give children confidence, I will have you know. Some teachers may help, like a sensible, upstanding, no excuses mindset teacher. Maybe like that stand and deliver Hispanic guy who taught the Mexicans calculus. What's calculus? You guys remember that movie? Was that a good guy? I don't know. Him whispering is so annoying, says Esoteric. Teachers need to wear body cams, says Jay Hess. Yeah. Pretty sick. They're all our children. Reminds me of Hillary Clinton saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Did you hear that caller on the Jesse Lee Peterson show say that the Bible says it takes a village to raise a child? And Jesse Lee's all, no, that's Hillary Clinton who said that. Keep them away from the children. Yes. Yeah, Tim Scott says, it takes a village. Not the rhino Tim Scott. We're talking about the real Tim Scott. Who voted for this guy? Asks Free Ross. 81 million people. 81 million. Right? I'm pretty sure. I saw Stand and Deliver pretty recently. I also saw that Lean on Me movie with, I didn't know that Lean on Me. I saw Lean on Me. Speaking of education, I saw that movie Lean on Me as a kid, at least once, maybe twice. And I remember the scene where this black principal or whoever he is dodges a knife and grabs the knife from the guy, the hooligan. and then they sing "Lean on Me" or something like that. But I didn't know that was what's his name? The guy who does that narration voice nowadays, or he did 20 years ago anyway. Morgan Freeman. I didn't know that was him, and I didn't know that he was all into the black thing, and but he supposedly turned around at school that was all ghetto. Reminded me a little bit of Obama, actually. And then Stand and Deliver was all Mexican. I didn't realize that teacher was all Mexican, because I saw that as a kid, and I thought he was just white with a decent tan. I didn't realize the Mexicans were Mexicans. I just thought I thought there was a bunch of white kids with a decent tan at my school, and then some Asians. But no, I grew up among a bunch of Hispanics and Asians. You guys are insisting that Joe Biden does touch children like that. I know, but like, there is this brainwashing against the men right now. Even like, I feel like your girlfriend might have mentioned that this woman who wanted to send, this is just a side note about kids and child molesters and things like that. There was this woman who I got a call from Justin from Fullerton about, who, according to the story, Tech Trends or something like that, she went on Craigslist and put an ad selling a room, renting out a room for $450 a month or something like that, and said, you can have this room for $450, but you also have to nanny my child while I'm away working. That's quite a room, I guess, right? Must be a pretty expensive area to be selling it like that, and then this renter, tenant person also has to nanny your child. And I believe your girlfriend or somebody said, I probably have it here. A lot of males would be all interested in that, depending on, a lot of not morally straight types, right? And I suppose that does happen, right? A lot of, like, homosexual male, like, teachers, and they say, like, a handful of even priests and different things. There's churches have become corrupt. Public schools are corrupt. So it does happen, but the women are every bit as evil. And then they're the female-minded males. But there is an attack and a stereotyping, what I think is maybe a false stereotyping of men. Every man is a suspected child molester. Kind of like the Me Too movement. All men are rapists. Where they're calling stuff rape that's not rape, So I kind of push back against that, because you don't want to go into your imagination. Homosexuals, here in Georgia, we call them I can't repeat that on air, unfortunately. We don't have freedom of speech. Plus, it's a family-friendly show. I don't know if the parents would want the children repeating that word, but thank you. You know what I mean? Like the smearing of the men as so-called child molesters? You don't want to get into your imagination and say something that's not true, even for an evil person like Sleazy Joe. There's plenty sleazy about him promoting 8-year-olds to be transgenders and stuff like that without jumping to conclusions about the way he's touching the little kids. Anyway, super chat. Got a super chat for you. Chick-fil-A or Chick-fil-A says, make public schools private again. Purge the pervs, as in fire the openly perverse teachers and revoke their licenses. Yeah, I would be for that. These people are not mentally straight, not morally straight, not spiritually straight. We should have high moral standards as to what type of preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way on up. And college so-called teachers, professors too. It shouldn't be the degenerates taking over, and they are taking over. And they're also working in the like entertainment world, media world, pushing their mess. Disney? Shane says about Biden, he got hairy legs. I guess he told a story about going to the pool over at the swimming pool where blacks also were, black kids also were, in, where was that? Was that Wilmington, Delaware, somewhere? He tells funny stories. Sort of charming, no? Maybe not. Moral scoliosis, says Peanut Gallery, yeah. Yeah, it's really sick and wrong, I say, that they are allowed to even be teachers. And then they say, and I told this before, I mentioned it on my appearance on Asmodor's show, and I mentioned it on my show too, that this kindergarten teacher out of Florida, a male, not morally straight kindergarten teacher, lamenting to The Hill, the far left outlet, The Hill, I call them far left, and they are. He's lamenting, I have to keep children at arm's length, according to the editor. The editor said that he laments that he has to keep children at arm's length. I'm sorry, if you're a teacher, you're supposed to keep children a little bit more than arm's length, I think, generally. He can't share his life with the kindergarteners. This not morally straight guy who's like pushing the mess, pushing his LGBT agenda. It's not his, it's Satan's agenda. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Chick-fil-A. So anyway, let me tell you about, speaking of Florida, you know how over in Florida, Disney, I've covered how Disney is pushing degeneracy on children. There's this woman who is a president over there who says, I have 2 queer children. She's like in her 50s. And her children are pretty young. They're minors for the most part, as I recall, thanks to Bobby who found that out. According to Bobby's research, her children are minors. One is transgender and one is pansexual out of her 5 children. And there's others. There's a black woman who said that she was not restricted at all from pushing her not secret at all gay agenda. Pushing kissing, not morally straight, kissing period in movies is kind of wrong. Especially like in cartoons, which is what they were involved in, I think. Children's cartoon movies. And so they protested, Disney protested, under pressure from the far left people, against this weak, Chris was pointing it out how weak it is, this weak, not nearly strong enough, so-called Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. Parental Rights and Education bill. That says, oh, if it's children ages, kindergarten through 3rd grade, 5 through 8 years old, you can't push your gay agenda or transgender agenda. You can't talk about gender identity, gender misidentity, or sexual disorientation to kids. And you have to let the parents know what's going on with the kids, medically and otherwise. And because the mainstream media are a bunch of evil, anti-Christian, unchristian people, they overreacted along with the radicals, because they are radicals themselves. And so Ron DeSantis and others are like, the Republicans over in Florida are like, okay, Disney, you want to try to push us around, you California-based company, not morally straight company. We're going to revoke your special privileges of working in Florida without taxes, being all self-governing in your Disney World type area, in Orlando area, I think. And I read in Hake News about them, the details of them trying to get rid of this little area Disney's self-governing special district, Reedy Creek Improvement District. It was created by Florida lawmakers in 1967, right? Gave them governmental control over the land, right? And they don't have to pay taxes. But they provide their own water, power, roads, firemen. But they didn't have to pay taxes to Florida for those services. So Reedy Creek, though, they owe like $1 billion in bond debt, and they're saying, oh, because we owe all this debt, you can't take away our thing. You have to pay our debt for us, state of Florida. $1 billion. I don't get how they think that works. But fortunately, they're going up against a guy named Ron DeSantis who... Is he capable? Is he competent? He portrays some level of competence. So anyway, I have to show you these two black Democrats who are out of Florida. That's the whole point of my covering this story. This Orange County has a mayor, right? Orange County, Florida, not to be confused with California. Orange County mayor, black Democrat mayor, Jerry L. Demings. This guy, I have a picture of him. If we have to take over for the first response, the public safety components for Reedy Creek with no new revenue, which he didn't say that. I mean, DeSantis and the Republicans didn't say that. That would be catastrophic for our budget here within Orange County. This guy is mayor, this black Democrat, by the way, is mayor of Orange County, Florida. And this guy, by the way, what's up with Florida? Come on, Florida. He's married to an older black female, well, I would hope that he's married to a female politician named Val Demings. And she's a member of Congress, a female congressman. I say she's serving herself. She's not serving the people. In the House of so-called representatives for the United States, so-called united, not very united. So this weak man, he told reporters, he was complaining to reporters April 21st, it would put an undue burden on the rest of the taxpayers in Orange County to fill that gap. But this guy, this woman, black Democrats in Florida, what the heck? We got to turn things around everywhere across the country. People are moving to Florida, but they're having people like this. I guess she would be representing, if we were to move to Orlando, she would be our representative. We're going from Karen Bass over here. She's supposedly our representative here. Black female who wants to run for mayor, short-haired woman, evil woman, to Val Demings. Ugh. I'm talking about if Bond is to move to Orlando area, Florida. We'll see what happens. But is Orlando Orange County area? I don't know. I'm assuming. Because isn't Disney World in Orlando? I don't know. But anyway, Ron DeSantis said Floridians will not see any tax increases in Florida due to this law punishing Disney, right? For trying to push them around. These commie capitalist corporations with no morals, pretending like they care about the kids. They don't care about the kids. Oh, we're protecting trans children. I'm hissing, but I'm trying to say like stupid, but I don't want to say stupid in front of the kids too much. Sorry, kids. Sorry, adults. Disney will pay its fair share of taxes, says Ron DeSantis. He said the law dissolving Reedy Creek is the first step in what's going to be a process to make sure Disney should not run its own government. Fair enough. JS Urban Adventures says, I've been saying, without DeSantis, Florida is Cali 2.0. Ouch. Yeah, Orlando is part of Orange County. Thank you, Big Bump. At least somebody knows his geography. Terrible. I don't know anything. She used to be a police chief, says Butch Conger. Are you talking about her? You talking about Val Demings? I think I knew that. Oh, man, I accidentally closed my Streamlabs. Let me open that back up again. Anyway. Yes, thank you. Make public schools private again. Ugh. Let me now cover this. Oh, I think I have time for it. Let me cover this stuff that's going on in California. You know how we have supposedly a drought? Seems like all my life we've been having droughts in California. And in my opinion, I'm just leery about this notion that we have this drought. I get it. We don't have a lot of rain. Sometimes we don't have a lot of rain. They say California is a desert. And it feels like they turned off the AC. Turn the AC back on, please. Speaking of drought, I need some water. But I saw this article in the New York Post because, you know, I hear all these different things like, oh, what is that place called that's outside of Las Vegas, but on the way it's like on the border with Arizona. There's this lake, and I'm blanking on the name of the lake, but the water levels at that lake are really low, and that's considered somewhat of a reservoir of water too. And so there's different lakes and reservoirs that have very low water all across the Southwest. And they say, oh, climate change. But I say, who knows, like the climate's always changing. That's a deceiving word, right? They're trying to say it's man-made. But I think that the crises are man-made, or a lack of man-made, because we don't have men running the show who are logical and subdue the earth. Sorry, I had to drink some water. But I saw this article from New York Post because I was started to search for it. I heard it on a local station here. Thanks for the AC. I don't feel it yet, but I hear it. New York Post and Associated Press, far-left Associated Press, out in August 2021, California moves slowly on water projects amid drought, which wouldn't make sense. With drought coming, or with drought anyway, a fact of life here in this desert. Much of California is desert. You would think that we would build up, or men would subdue the earth, right? Isn't that one of the rules from God in the book of Genesis? Subdue the earth. This is reporting from Sites, California. In 2014, in the middle of a severe drought that would test California's complex water storage system like never before, voters told the state to borrow $7.5 billion and use part of it to build projects to stockpile more water. I don't know if I voted for that or against it, because in general, when in doubt, don't vote for the propositions. Vote no. Voting no will keep things the same, because people come up with deceiving propositions to fool the people. I don't know if this was a proposition. But 7 years later, 2021, that drought has come and gone, replaced with an even hotter and drier one that is draining the state's reservoirs at an alarming rate, according to AP, which are far-left enemies of America. But they may be correct on this. None of the more than half dozen water storage projects scheduled to receive that money, $7.5 billion, have been built. 7 years later. Have they even started? Largest project by far is a proposed lake in northern NorCal. Would be the state's first new reservoir of significant size in more than 40 years. 40 years. People have been talking about building the Sites Reservoir since the 1950s, but the cost, plus shifting political priorities, buzzword, environmentalists. Evil suckers, environmentalists. Environmentalism, green is the new red, by the way, is something that we've all heard by now, I think. I learned that from Bill Lockwood, and I think he's right about that. Green is the new red is in communism, right? Make us poor, make us not ready. The largest project by far is the Sites Reservoir idea up in NorCal. Storage was once the centerpiece of California's water management strategy, highlighted by a building bonanza in the mid-20th century of a number of dams and reservoirs. And I think I know who may have been the one who was doing this. It may have been this guy, Pat Brown. He may have been the one who did that. Pat Brown, father of Jerry Brown Jr. Believe it or not, Pat Brown was also named something Gerald Brown. And Jerry Brown Jr. was governor not long after him, and then again more recently. What a mess. In the more than 40 years since California last opened a major new reservoir, the politics and policy have shifted toward a more environmental focus that caused tension between urban and rural legislators and the communities that they represent. You know, the rural people are like, they live in more reality. We need water. We need reservoirs. And then the urban people, I think, unless I'm getting it backwards, the urban people are like, no, we need to be more environmentalist. I could be getting that backwards. Maybe it's the urban people who are like, because there's so many people in the cities, they need water. And then the rural people are like, yeah, but you're taking the water away from us because we need the water for farms. I don't know. It's a mess. The largest of California's reservoirs are operated by the state and federal governments. Neither has built a new one since the 1979 New Melones near Sonora Desert, up 50 miles northwest of Yosemite National Park, Yosemite. Beautiful area. Many environmental groups argue the reservoir would do more harm than good because they say operators would have to pull more water than is environmentally safe from the Sacramento River to make the project feasible. I wonder if it's true. You know, sometimes you have to listen to these people because they may say something that is true, and you pick out that and then throw away the rest of their mess because they don't come up with good solutions. It's hard to say, hard to know. Maybe somebody who's listening knows more about this than I. Hopefully. Anyway, let's see. Ron Stork, a senior policy advocate for Friends of the River, an environmental advocacy group, presumably the Sacramento River, says fundamentally it's a deadbeat dam. Pretty marginal project, this huge idea that's been an idea since the 50s, or else it would have been built years ago. Gavin Newsom is the beta governor right now, right? His administration included the Sites Reservoir in its water plan. So he wanted to build it. He sees the reservoir as a way to prepare for the future impacted by climate change. Give me a break. California's reservoir system is designed to capture water from melted snow in mountains, but climate change could mean less snow and more rain. The state's not equipped to capture that. So let me show you this governor, Jerry Brown Jr., who was governor in the late 70s, early 80s. And then he was governor again from 2011 to 2019. So he was governor like decades apart, twice. Jerry Brown Jr. You guys remember this guy? I'm shaking my head at him. He held, according to Wikipedia, he held a strong interest. There he is. He's the son of the guy who built up the dams, and this guy didn't build up anything. I mean, built up the reservoirs. Built reservoirs. He held a strong interest in environmental issues because he's a phony politician, a Democrat. He established a reputation as a strong environmentalist even by the 80s. He put John Bryson, he put this one guy named John Bryson as chairman of the California State Water Board. Not to be confused with torture. John Bryson is the guy who he put in charge. And this guy, John Bryson, he was Secretary of Commerce under Barack Obama. This John Bryson guy. He was such an environmentalist that that Jim Inhofe, who's this Republican guy, might be a rhino. This guy, he was, well, I shouldn't repeat that. There was a rumor about him, about his driving, but he might have really had a seizure. Some people thought he was drunk driving. Okay, I mentioned it, but he probably had a seizure because he's old. He put John Bryson as chairman of the California State Water Board, and this guy was Secretary of Commerce under Obama. He was such an environmentalist that the Republicans back then held up his confirmation. Crazy, huh? So he's putting the fox in charge of the hen house. It's ridiculous. But it's funny because this guy's dad, and I heard this on the radio, and the local radio hosts said this, Pat Brown, the father of Jerry Brown Jr., who was governor from 1959 to 1967. So this older Brown, the daddy, was governor, and then Ronald Reagan was governor. Was Ronald Reagan governor as a Republican or as a Democrat? I don't know. I think he was a Republican. But anyway, Pat Brown was governor, and then Reagan was governor, and then Jerry Brown Jr. became governor. And then we had a bunch of others, and then Jerry Brown Jr. again. Well, that guy, Pat Brown, he started the California State Water Project, which built a bunch of reservoirs, and then we didn't have. It helped. James Inhofe from Oklahoma. Oh, I didn't know that. But think about how many people we've brought in to the state. We're a sanctuary state here in California, building up all this housing, and then plus we do all this irrigation and what? Do we make almonds? Doesn't it take a lot of water to make almonds? I don't know, but there's all kinds of stuff. And people blame the golf courses. Oh, these golf courses. I let my lawn dry up, but these golf courses are watering their golf courses all the time. It's a mess. All that to say, it's to me, it's like a lot of incompetence and corruption and evil mama people. Eco-socialism, says Lord H. Sizzle. Green New Deal on the outside, communist on the inside. The watermelon. Green on the outside, red on the inside. Funny. And I hate watermelon. So you know it's wrong. California is nothing. Let me get to Rick in Hampton, Virginia. Rick, how are you doing?
Jay, what's going on?
Hey, not much. How about you?
Man, I'm doing pretty good for a Thursday over here in Hampton, VA. Hey, I just wanted to get your opinion, man. I think President Biden's in a desperate situation. I think they may offer college kids to cancel all their college debt.
Oh,
what do you think about that?
I don't like that. I don't like that because that's buying votes, and I don't like that. I don't like the fact that they brainwash the young people to go to college, and they're like fresh, blind brainwashed, dumb 18-year-olds, and the dumb boomer and Gen X parents, and maybe millennial parents by now, letting their kids go to school to get brainwashed away and turn on them even worse, and then be all in debt and not unemployable and arrogant and thinking that they know stuff when they don't know anything. I think it's evil.
Like Dr. Rashad Ritchie.
Rashad Ritchie. Oh, yeah. That's the guy. You're talking about the guy from the Young Turks who was... He interviewed Jesse Lee, and then he kicked off Jesse Lee. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he thinks his degrees are all, got him so smart. Even he's smarter than God.
Yeah.
I heard him today. He was talking about, what's that? A black, I think it's a lawsuit, a black police officer was trying to sue the Kansas City Police Department.
Yeah.
Because what happened, two police officers pulled him up. He was in an unmarked police car. Now, my question is, how are you supposed to know that that's police officer if it's an unmarked car?
Right.
They pull him over, then he got to come over police. I mean, his attitude, so the police officer say, hey, man, come on, say something like this, tell him calm down, man, because all he had to do was send his car, hey, guys, I'm a sergeant. I mean, they pulled him over. He probably was speeding. And then they pulled him over, and then all he had to do was show him, hey, look, show him his badge. I'm here. Cooperate. You get outside, and then talking about he's for justice, but yeah, they suing to get money from the city, which can go to help other police officers with overtime and other city workers. And they talking about they trying to help judges like to me, they trying to fatten their bank account. Me.
Yeah.
You know, but the same what Biden is trying to do with these kids, man. You know, that's I always said the public school system is liberal 101 and college is 201.
Huh.
And that's and then said the parents don't teach the kids anything, man. Just teach them to go to college, and that's it.
Yeah.
And what you got, like you said, James, that's what's going to happen. And right now, that's a desperate situation, man.
Okay.
They're trying to buy votes.
It really is.
Get your take on it.
I agree. I mean, I can sympathize, but they're not going to come up with good solutions. These people are wolves in sheep's clothing, the ones who are pushing this the most.
Right.
I don't know. I think that I want a man to come up with a solution to this. If there's a solution to be had, I think that they just need to be. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about it. I appreciate it though, Rick. It's good to hear from you.
No problem, James. Always good to talk to you guys. Love you guys. God bless y'all, man. Y'all be good.
All right, you as well. Take care. Oh man. So I cannot get to Maze, my favorite caller out of Dayton, Ohio, the sundown town. She wanted to talk about the cop who was pulled over, I guess, in New Orleans. A quick super chat from Linya and Shin, though. Lord Goodhair, please do us all a favor and don't fret over your normal impulse to pronounce water as water. It's how most people say it, and your pause for correction is only detracting from your charisma. Just speak however is natural to you. Thank you, Linya and Shin. And a lot of people are hating on Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A is a hate-filled, cowardly company. They're evil. They are evil. They are wolves in sheep's clothing, Christians' clothing, fake Christians. They even hired a black woman to be a mess. Speaking of mess, last quick point, and then I have to end. Canada, which is rich, accused Russia of war crimes. No, genocide. Oh, you're doing genocide, please. I talked about that in Hake News. Check it out on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. Anyway, guys, we are overtime. This has been the Hake Report. Appreciate you joining. And hopefully I will see you tomorrow on the Jesse's Show and on the Hake Report. Take care, guys.